Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to the first ever Handball Hits show, where it's everything men's and women's Premier Handball League. Now, as you can see, I'm joined by my handball partner in crime, which wouldn't be the same without him. It's Jack Oliphant. Jack, how are you, my friend? Are you well?
I'm absolutely buzzing to be here, to be honest, Ian. It's this is a pretty special moment, I think, for handball. There are plenty of handball podcasts out there covering Champions League and everything, but I don't think there's ever been anything that's covered handball in England as a national sport. So we've got plenty of sort of news coming up. We've got topics, we've got highlights, and we've got guests on. So we're fingers crossed this is going to be the start of some momentum that we can build up, and hopefully everybody out there will enjoy it as much as we're hoping they do.
Yeah, certainly so. This is the first ever one, of course, and we want you to get involved as well at home watching this. So please do comment below. We can see your comments. If you want to have your comments shown on screen, the best place to head to actually is probably the England Handball Association on YouTube or Live Sport Now on YouTube. If you comment in the live chat section, we can show it on screen. So, like I said, this is the first ever show. We have match highlights to bring you. We've got exclusive interviews to bring you. We've got a very special guest from Carshalton Titans. We're going to bring him on a little bit later. But before we do that, Jack, we've got the news to cover, the handball news to cover. And boy, oh boy, what a month October has been, hasn't it? And there's been a bit of success for Great Britain, hasn't there, in Europe. Congratulations, we must say, to GB under-20s for their victory in the European Trophy. There they are. Look, in fact, let me just take that text down so you can see. There's Zoran Lucas there. By the way, huge congratulations. They played 4 matches, won all 4. In fact, they actually had the tournament wrapped up by the 3rd game, but then still went on to beat Andorra 35-18 in the final game anyway, just to really confirm it. And how good is this, Jack, for the sport of handball in this country and press? Joe Trent from GB Under-20, he was on BBC South Today yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic. And we've seen handball being covered a little bit by BBC, but to be honest, they were years ago. We're talking London 2012. We have had a recent sort of high-profile media presence, I suppose, Strictly Come Dancing. We do have one of the players actually taking part in Strictly Come Dancing, Tyler. Annoyingly, his last name's gone out of my head, which is really embarrassing because I used to play for England with him. But yeah, so it's brilliant that these sort of people are getting a little bit of recognition. And for Joe, that is just incredible, isn't it? To be interviewed live on BBC representing your country in such a successful tournament, successful campaign. They didn't just beat Andorra in the final game. They absolutely ran away with it. They destroyed them and made their mark as the team to beat, hopefully. So with any luck, we'll see that under-20s turn to under-21s age category. We'll see their success flourish and continue. And you never know, we'll probably be seeing them in the men's setup before too long.
A big step going forward then for handball in this country, isn't it? Because it might be fair to say that overseas in Europe, they're perhaps a little bit further down the road than we want to be. But it shows like this. And of course, we must say our broadcast deal as well, where we're going to bring you 18 men's and women's Premier Handball League matches live across the course of the season, should make a difference, Jack, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Might as well blow our own trumpet while we're at it. It's a fantastic deal. We're really pleased to be involved with it. Obviously, with Live Sport Now and England Handball having this sort of partnership where we broadcast 2 games every single month, and we bring you the Handball Highlights show. I mean, to be fair, credit goes to you and John Pearce from England Handball for striking up that partnership, and obviously everybody at England Handball has been involved with that as well. And then I've just sort of been tagged on the side, but I'm
not having that. Not having that. Come on.
I'm excited to be involved though, Ian. And from when I started, I don't know, when did I start? I don't know. I was 14, so about 12 years ago. I never thought we'd be involved with a situation where we'd be able to broadcast the sport, let alone have a podcast like this that goes out and highlights and everything like that. It's really exciting. It can only move the sport forward.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole point really of Handball Hits, if you like your football and match of the day, this is a little bit like that. So that's what we're trying to bring out. It's the first ever one. No, we want to hear from you. Like we said, if you've got any ideas going forward, that things you'd like to add in, please don't hesitate to get in contact with us. You can contact me directly at livesportnow.uk. You can contact Jack across social media or just get in touch with the England Handball Association website. Right there, englandhandball.com. Check it out. There is actually a link in the body of this broadcast. Wherever you're watching it, just click it, takes you straight through to that website. You don't even have to type it out. That's how good we are. How nice is that? Right, let's keep going with the news, shall we? Because we've touched on the broadcast deal there. That's really cool. We've touched on the GB under-20s. But for 2022-23, there's a new league structure for the Men's and Women's Premier Handball League, isn't there, Jack? Last season, it was just men's and women's. Now it's actually split regional, isn't it? We have the Men's South Premier Handball League. We have the Men's North, and likewise for the women, we have the Women's North and the Women's South. So let's have a little look at the teams involved. First of all, let's start with the Men's South Premier Division. There they are: Cambridge, Carshalton Titans, Chelsea, London GD Olympia, West London Eagles in that one. So some good teams there, Jack.
There are, absolutely, yeah, and it's we probably left the most controversial topic till last. I know there is split opinions out there for coaches, players, fans, and organisations involved, but at the end of the day, we're trying to get as many games of handball put on as possible. And well, Cambridge, we're already going to be speaking to someone from Carshalton. I'll leave the introductions until a little bit later, but there are some really strong teams in there. London GT, Olympia, and West London Eagles have always been around the sort of Premier League handball era. Cambridge sort of dipped in and out a little bit. Carshalton Titans, they got promoted a couple of years ago as well. And Chelsea are probably the club that have benefited from this new league structure to be able to play the slightly higher teams. To be honest, I'm here for it in a way. If it gets us playing handball, if it gets the overall quality of some of the lesser teams to play better teams and push them harder as well, hopefully that can only lift things.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the teams involved in the Women's Premier South there. Cambridge, again, London GD, Arctic Falcons, Northampton, Olympia, and West London Eagles. So it's quite nice to see a crossover between a number of the teams with a men's and women's team there as well. Let's head up north, your neck of the woods, shall we? An area that gives me vertigo. Anything further north of Watford, it makes me a little bit scared, to be honest. But the North Division for the men's, Birmingham, Liverpool, Manchester, NEM Hawks, and Nottingham involved in that one. And then for the women's North, Birmingham, Liverpool, Loughborough, great to see them, NEM Hawks, Nottingham, and Trafford. So as you can see, and then actually we must just give a mention as well. There's a number of regional division splits as well from then onwards as well. Seems to me there's a proper clear pathway to get to the top now, Jack.
Yeah, and I think obviously it's a little bit more accessible because the top is based on regions. So you only need to be the top in the North second division to be able to reach the top of the ladder. There is a sort of playoff system at the end of it as well, obviously. So the North will end up playing the South, but only the top teams will end up playing almost like a EHF Final Four. It's EHA Final Four style thing, I think. So we'll have a lot of people hopefully tuning in for that as a fun weekend and a couple of games that will be involved with it. So yeah, there are opportunities to have an overall national winner. It just comes down to a bit more of a tournament structure when it comes to the end of the year.
Excellent. All right, great stuff. Well, look, that's about the news done and dusted then. I don't know about you, but I can see him waiting in the wings. Yes, we've got our very first special guest actually on the Handball Hit Show for October. I'm delighted to bring in Carshalton Titans, Harry Eamons. Here he is. Harry, how are you? Great to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me on. Looking forward to getting this show started.
Now, Harry, of course, you play for Carshalton Titans in the Men's Premier South Division. How's the season gone for you so far? You had a couple of games, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a little bit up and down. I mean, first two games coming up against probably arguably the two strongest sides in the league, London GD and Olympia. First game against Olympia, I think we struggled a little bit defensively and we never quite got into the game. And again, against GD, I think we lost by, I think the score was perhaps 35-24, but the score doesn't quite reflect how we felt the game went because we had no established goalkeeper. We was having to play quite unorthodox attack, especially we had Adam, probably one of our main players in goal. He's having to run in and out between attack and defence, but it was a useful learning experience, especially in attack, to learn a few things. But the next few games, yeah, we definitely want to get a few wins on the board for sure.
Now, Harry, let's talk about your pathway into sport. We had a little chat actually off air, didn't we, just beforehand? But how did you get involved in handball?
So it was just through my school teacher first initially. And my first ever coach was a man called Daniel McMillan, who played for GB in London 2012. So again, he came down to the school for a few sessions. And then eventually I played for Carshalton Titans, coached by Mark Hawkins, another GB Olympian. So
Yeah.
It was quite exciting time, especially when you're 15, 16, seeing these Olympians like, oh, this is quite cool, like this is quite a fun sport, getting involved, and then through their under 16s, under 19s, English National Academy, and then now Premier League. Just quite a ideal pathway. But I think we talked a little bit before, quite fortunate where some people elsewhere in the country, especially in the North and in the Midlands, if you don't have a club near you, perhaps it's quite hard to get kids into the sport. So, I was quite fortunate today.
It seems like it's going on the right way, though, as we mentioned in the news section, with GB under 20s getting the win over in Europe. Now the restructure of the men's and women's Premier Handball League. It seems like the England Handball Association have actually got a real plan in place over the next sort of 5-6 years to take this even further, Harry.
Yeah, definitely. First things for sure, the GB under 20s. I mean, it's just simply amazing. Like a few of my teammates before, and like even me, when we've been involved in like GB long squads, had a few people who played for under 18s, under 20s, but this GB guys who just won the under 20s, I think it's like a golden generation, pretty much bearing one or two, all of them play out in Europe, which is really good. And they're through to the intercontinental phase of the IHF trophy. And if they win that, they qualify for the under 21 World Championships, which is something I never thought I'd probably say with a British handball team. But if they were to qualify for the World Championship, it'd be a watershed moment, not just for the players, but even perhaps financially for the pathways as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from a commercial side of things, hopefully, as we said, shows like this will help and just show. I mean, it's such a good sport, isn't it, Jack? Handball. I mean, when I first I spoke to you about it at the start of the year. Actually, we did broadcast a couple of games earlier on in the year, didn't we? We were talking about it. It's got everything handball. If you've never played it before, do head over to the England Handball website for even more information. As I said, there's a link in the body of this broadcast. It's so fast-paced, but it's tactical as well, Jack.
Absolutely, yeah. There's loads of tactics behind it, and it takes a long time to become sort of masters of that. And I know that Zoran, who's actually the GB men's coach, I was chatting to him before the London GD versus West London Eagles game. Sorry, I've got something in my throat. I've been a bit ill this week. And he was saying that him and Ricardo are going to Leeds Beckett. They've obviously done masters in sports coaching, or I'm going to butcher the title of it now. They're probably going to correct me in the chat. But they're now doing PhDs in how to, basically in sort of coaching and handball and development sort of thing. And as I said, I don't know the official title, but that's the sort of level that these people are committed. And Zoran was saying we could go to Europe and we could get jobs and we could become coaches out there for sort of more established teams and everything like that. But they want to develop the sport here, and they see the potential that hopefully a lot of people that are watching this broadcast see as well in handball in England. And hopefully we can, people like that will level us up even more. And it's clearly working because Zoran was the one of the coaches that took that GB under-20s team to the victories. So in my opinion, yeah, it's a fantastic sport. It takes a lot to master, but that doesn't mean that it's not accessible either. And basically, whatever size of child you are, whether it's in primary school or in high school, there is a role for you in handball as well. It's a bit like rugby in that way, that it's so accessible and hopefully easy to understand. All you need is a ball and a goal at the end of the day. It's no more complicated than football.
Exactly that. Yeah, the entry level is very, well, the barriers are very low for handball. Right, now, actually, chaps, we've got you on this show for the very important matter as well of having a look at some highlights with us too. As we've mentioned before, we're going to be bringing you 18 men's and women's Premier Handball League games throughout the course of the season. We've already broadcast 2 live. Jack was with me for those games as well. At the start of the month, we headed into the capital. We went over to Gunnersbury. We're going to start with the Women's Premier Handball League. We're going to have a look at everything. We're going to look at some match highlights first of all. We're going to go through results. Then we're going to have a look at what fixtures are coming up in November that you can get yourself along to if you live locally or if you fancy a long drive. That's entirely up to you. So to start of the month, we headed to Gunnersbury Park. West London Eagles taking on London GD. It's a game we broadcast last season in January. And boy, oh boy, that was a cracker. I don't want to spoil anything, but this was absolutely insane. Relax, sit back, enjoy this.
So it's half-hour halves, isn't it?
Half-hour halves.
I think we've got a little show at half-time.
Yeah, they know how to win, and they're going to try. That's McDonald, and that's her second of the game. Wasn't good enough, and for the second time, Christina Lopez is through.
Football Association website. Well, and minute mark already. Oh, lovely stuff. And we're going to recap the whole season in showing signs of attacking intent, aren't you? Look at that great attack, surely.
Finish for her in the end, but another good shot.
The goals have dried up until it's also been really low scoring. Just a 7 is Tanya Corti for GD. Look at the divisions as well. And oh my word, there you go. 8-all, they tied a game in these two teams. But there's a bit of a Handball YouTube channel soon as the Eagles pull one back.
Strong defence, moving to the left wing, and another goal. Has the opportunity for a shot. You don't give her the opportunity for a shot. We've seen that already. Would have been a hell of a goal to finish a game on as well, actually. But it's half time. It's 11 to GD. West London Eagles 10. Well, in the South Division with a good shot. West London Eagles are through in the fast break. 7 for GD.
Tanya Corti, isn't it? And she's absolutely nailed it. She's having a blinding game. Tanya Corti there, and really absolutely flying.
Sure, there's an advantage to it, but I haven't seen too much of it so far as the 7 Tawny manages to squeeze through. Sorry, Corti even. I keep getting the name wrong. Corti squeezes through the gap that time again, first half, and that is how they nullified the early momentum. And that is what happens if you don't step up to them, though. West London Eagles find an opportunity to squeeze the shot through the gap.
Oh, halves, our total game time, but they do. What a God, that just creeps in
there somewhere, I reckon. There's Naomi Bell, not messing around this time to turn that kind of margin round and from the right back.
And they're making a 4-point game. Tanya Corti, number 7, surely been player of the game so far. Does it go in? Oh, it finds a way through.
Gets in your head, and it's a lot of a struggle. That.
Now GD have an opportunity, and they make it.
Oh, good move through. Oh, it's moved to the left wing. That's the second time.
Bring it all throughout, isn't it?
Oh,
what a
good
great
step.
effort for the game.
Up for the left winger.
Oh. Okay, off we go again. And it's Eagles once again. The scoreboard still saying 17-20. I thought it was 18. And this is surely what a rebound and what a goal.
But a fast break for the 20. Great hands. And West London Eagles are leading. This is that one with a powerful run through for GD. There's GD with a powerful shot, a powerful jump. And it's Corti.
It's Tanya Corti.
I'm only going to say it's already player of the match, so I'm not going to put that pressure on her. But Corti to draw the game for London GD here. She misses, they lose. She scores, they draw, and she scores. And yet again, for the second time, we've broadcasted West London Eagles, London GD, clash of the capital. It has ended up in a draw and a red card shown late to, I believe, was that Paul Dempsey.
Yeah, my word. I mean, breathless stuff, wasn't it? It was a draw, 22-all. It was a draw back in January, I think, as well, wasn't it, Jack? Only roles reversed slightly this time because GD had to come back. Eagles came back into the game, weren't they? Because at one point they were 17-13 down, where Eagles came back to actually lead. And then, of course, GD had to throw that penalty to tie the game. Last year, it was Eagles who got a last gasp goal to tie the game. I mean, Harry, you obviously weren't at that game, but what do you make of that when it's that tight? But it looked like at one point GD were going to get a bit of momentum and run away with it, but Eagles just stayed in. At what point when you're playing and you're looking at that scoreboard, are you thinking, oh, it's 4-5 now? Did the heads drop or did he just keep going?
Yeah, well, I was quite fortunate enough before the broadcast managed to watch the game live back again. So thanks for putting that on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, initially, the first game of the season, you get that little bit of first game of the season syndrome. Maybe I should coin that as a phrase. But initially, it was West London Eagles who got up 4-0. And it was kind of this pattern we saw throughout the game again. Maybe you haven't seen each other for a bit of time, just getting back into training. Quite a lot of technical errors from both teams, but London GD, again, a team that have been around for a long, long time, both on the men's and women's side, getting back into it around half-time. And I think around the 40th minute mark, they're actually leading by 17 goals to 13. And I think it's tough. Again, obviously in England handball, it's an amateur league. That doesn't mean we take it seriously. And again, when you got perhaps 20 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go, you're leading by 4 or 5 goals. You want to perhaps slow the game down a little bit, get that game management in. And I think GD would be a little bit disappointed that they couldn't perhaps close the game down. So I think perhaps a point drop for them and a point that West London Eagles feel they're perhaps lucky to get.
Yeah, Jack, I mean, as you may echo the thoughts there, because we're quite familiar with both teams, certainly from the games earlier on in the season. It did look like GD were going to certainly run away with that one, but Eagles just would not let go. And they went through that period where they just couldn't miss and GD couldn't score.
Yeah, I think the first, obviously, 10 minutes or so, West London Eagles did come out really strong. We shouldn't sort of take credit away from them because we're saying, GD weren't on their top form. Don't get me wrong, they weren't. But West London Eagles came out and they could have taken that game to anybody in the country at that point. And handball is a fickle thing. You're always going to get those fast breaks. Momentum's going to shift. It's how you deal with that makes you a good team. And West London Eagles, I think, can take a lot of heart from it. We actually spoke to them. There is an interview that you will be seeing in a couple of minutes with obviously Paul Dempsey, but I think they can take a lot of heart from the way that they performed. And if you remember way back when, Ian, when we first interviewed them, and they just about got the point, they just about drew against GD, they were ecstatic. It felt like a win for them, as it does in pretty much any sport, doesn't it, when you snatch that right at the end. This time round, they actually sounded rather disappointed. And then we had a chat to Courtney as well, and she sounded elated that they even got the point. So handball's a fickle thing. And I'm sure the next time we cover their games will probably be a very similar story in terms of how close the game is, how much one team dominates 5 minutes and how the other team dominates the next 5 minutes.
Well, you mentioned there, actually, Tanya Courtney, player of the match. She was absolutely sensational. She scored that penalty right at the end of the game. And Jack, yes, you did catch up with Tanya Courtney after the game. So let's hear from her.
Courtney, player of the match. Are you okay to have a chat with us? I've just asked them, very emotionally charged at the end there, and you were the one who had the responsibility of the penalty as well. How was that for you?
I mean, it was amazing. It was a lot of pressure, though. We were kind of like trying to drop the responsibility between each other because it was like a few seconds left. But I'm glad we drew, glad we scored the last penalty, and the team played very well. We started really slow, like very slow. It took us 10 minutes to kind of wake up and get back in the game. But once we got there, we were on it, and we were proud of ourselves. It was our first game, so... I
was going to say, there was a little bit of rustiness from both sides, wasn't there, in terms of turning the ball over on fast breaks and everything like that. Is that just something that you think by the next game that'll be out of the system, then cobwebs blown away?
100%, yeah. This is the first game. Like, we need to get back into it after the long summer, and I'm sure for the next game, both teams are going to be much energy, much consistency and higher level.
I was going to say, this is a very high-level game for the new league format as well. Starting off very hard, haven't you, in terms of having to play West London Eagles. Was that something that sort of came into your head in the preparation for the game, or was it just like normal, you prepare exactly the same way?
We've been doing a great preseason. We've been training a lot, and we weren't focusing maybe specifically on this team, but more on our game, our defense, our attack, and then put that in place against who we play with, and let's go see how it goes with the next teams.
Well, it seems to have worked quite well. Congratulations on player of the match. Congratulations on the penalty at the end there as well.
She was elated. Could get a smile off her face, can you? She was absolutely delighted there. Oh, Jack, I think we might have lost your audio, Jack. I don't know. Harry, can you?
Yeah, no, that was my bad. I was just saying that, she deserved to be that happy because she did take the game by the scruff of the neck at a point in the game where London GD needed someone to do that. And obviously to take the responsibility of the penalty at the end. That is exactly what I was talking about before. GD felt like that was a win to take that point away from West London Eagles, which is a stark contrast to what it was like about 7 or 8 months ago.
I mean, Harry, you touched on it earlier, sort of first game rustiness. Tanya touched on it too. We're out of that now, though, aren't we? We're heading into November. You're feeling good? Are you guys ready for this going forward?
Yeah, I think all teams, not just us, Carl Shorten, but all teams throughout the league, you just need 1 or 2 games to settle into things, especially as well. I think we started a bit late this year in October. I think years before it would have been September, but everybody's just happy to get back out there on the court. And like you said, Courtney looked like she didn't need the break. She was right on it. And 6 goals for her. And quick shout out to her teammate Perez, who got 5 as well. So I think those two definitely lead in the line for GD getting good breakthroughs, especially drawing the defenders in, giving opportunities for all of their team. A really good performance from those two.
Harry, shout out to you as well, because you've really done your homework there, haven't you? Right, let's hear from the coaches, shall we? Jack, after the game, you caught up, first of all, with George Gonzalez, the London GD coach. Let's hear what he had to say.
That was a very emotionally charged game right at the end there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I didn't want to look. The penalty was a little bit too much, at the end. We defend pretty well the whole game, I think, both teams, because 22 goals was not too many. Proud for the trajectory we're doing this season. I think we're going to get far.
I was going to say, you were down 4 goals right at the beginning of the game. That's not very GD-esque. How was that for you?
No, I think normally it's the opposite. We start very high and then going down, but it's something that we're changing now, so but it's good that we get back now into the game.
I was going to say, and your view on the penalty right at the end. We've had some controversial opinions potentially on whether it's a penalty or not by some of the fans up there. What was your view on it?
I didn't see if they were stepping into the line, but probably it was a penalty, because if the referee is that close, they say penalty. As long as you're stepping inside 6 meters, grabbing the line, it is a penalty. So I would think it is.
Well, fantastic. Nice to have a chat to you. Good luck for your game a little later on. I'll let you go and get changed.
Yeah, there we go. That was George Gonzalez there. You caught up with Paul Dempsey as well, Jack. So let's hear what he had to say.
That was a really good performance from both teams, wasn't it? And you guys came out the blocks really fast.
Yeah, we started off, our expectations were limited because of obviously the amount of players that we lost during the end of last season. So I think that we've actually done a fantastic job considering of those aspects. Obviously I was emotional at the end, but that's another story altogether. I felt that we deserved the win, that's why. Considering this team has been working extremely hard throughout the pre-season, which I'm aware of. So I'm nothing but full of praise for my players.
I was going to say, I'm going to have to ask you, because we are classed as the media here now and we like to stir the pot. What was your view on the penalty at the end? Because, as you said, I know you wanted the win and that's where the emotions came from, but what was your view now you've had a couple of minutes?
Obviously, I was emotional, but I believe that because of the position of the attacker at the time, the referee allowed her to retain the ball for too long before blowing the whistle, when the act of defence had already taken place. So if that had been called, that would have been a 9 metres. And in my book, then because he blew too late, in my opinion, that then enabled the foul to continue through a period of time it didn't need to go through. So that was my argument. Okay. So, but on a whole, I feel the referees were balanced with mistakes on both sides. So that's really my main gripe, because I felt that in such a a dramatic ending to the game, that they're the areas that make the difference of quality refereeing. But as I say, is that they're a good pairing of referees. So I've apologised for my emotion, but I still stand by my opinion.
I was going to say that was very eloquently put, and I think a lot of football managers could probably take a lesson from that, to be honest. And at the end of the day, like you say, you want to win. This is a very competitive sport against close rivals as well in London GD. Last year, or last January, when we last covered this anyway, it was 25-all, a draw again. Slightly lower scoring this time round, but the emotion was just as high, wasn't it? That time it felt like you'd gotten the win by getting the draw. This time it felt like it got away from you. Is that just the relationship of playing with against London GD?
Yeah, I think GD and ourselves have got a lot of history. There's a lot of friendships between the clubs, as well as the passion to win. But I would say that obviously our club and GD have been running. We're 50 years old of this year, so GD is sort of not far behind that. So we've been playing against one another for a long time now. And as I say, there's passion always when we play one another, because it's just been historical, but always friends afterwards, I'd like to think, and well, I feel that way myself anyway.
I was going to say that's the nature of handball, isn't it? You want to win, but at the end of the day, everybody seems to get on. It's such a close-knit community in England.
Yeah, indeed. We're not a professional sport in this country, so people have to go and do their academics, they have to go to work the next day. So obviously there has to be a control on the level of intensity and passion within the game. but obviously everyone's fighting to win, so it gets near the mark. But in the end, you know, the sport of handball is the type of sport where once you become a friend, you're a friend for life. You know, people don't generally go their own ways; they stay in contact all the time.
Yeah, well, fantastic. We love to see the emotion, Paul, even if it got you in a little bit of trouble. But we love to see it, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Good time.
Cheers.
Yeah, there we are. Jack Oliphant stirring the pot there with Paul Dempsey. He'd certainly calmed down a bit by then, hadn't he? And so some very wise words in there indeed, Jack.
Yeah, I think, well, to be honest, for the record, I just watched the penalty back while that interview was going on, because I thought, you know what, I only saw it live once. I haven't watched the replay yet. I'll have a quick look at it. It's definitely a penalty. That's one man's opinion, but it's a referee's decision as well. And at the end of the day, we've got to respect that, haven't we? And we're not a professional outlet as in terms of, it's an amateur sport. That means the referees are also... I mean, they get paid for their game, but equally, you know, they're not trained to the highest degree sort of thing. These mistakes are going to happen. And like Paul said, they are a good pairing, those two. So I think he apologized afterwards. And to be fair, I didn't realize how long I had chatted to him as well. It was just like I was chatting to him, forgot I was live. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. But yeah, it was nice to have a talk with him. And I think he did put things quite eloquently at the end.
He's very good, Paul. He's always happy for a chat. Harry, let's go back to you. You've obviously seen the penalty at the end of the game. Jack says it's a penalty. What do you say, Harry?
Yeah, I mean, I probably have to agree with that, to be honest. I mean, handball's such a... he forced me to say that. No, true. I think it's always hard, especially when you're on the sidelines, when you're on the court, you know, that passion comes in. But I think, and always it's a big decision, very last play of the game, but I think it is right. The defender, I think there's two of them actually, again, like in the area as well. It's not even perhaps that they were shooting at the time. Them defending in the area anyway is enough to warrant a penalty. So it's a correct decision in the end, I think.
Excellent stuff. So that was West London Eagles, London GD. We did actually manage to, it's not a game we actually went to broadcast live, but we did manage to get a bit of footage as well of Loughborough versus Nottingham in the North Premier Handball League for the women. So we've got about a minute's clip here to have a look at some of the action. Yeah, very. Thank you to whoever filmed that. I'm not sure who it was. Thank you very much for letting us use those highlights. So that was Loughborough, of course, against Nottingham. So, look, chaps, let's have a little look at how game week 1 results in the Women's South Premier League went. First of all, let's have a little look at it, shall we? So this is game week 1. This was over the 5th and 6th, I believe, of October. As we saw, Eagles, London GD, 22 each. And Northampton running out 29-15 winners over Cambridge. Arctic Falcons 18 and Olympia 30. So that's how things finished in game week 1. We have had game week 2 as well. Let's have a look at some results. So Cambridge 15, Eagles 29. So Eagles unbeaten so far. We actually have a game tomorrow as well. Olympia taking on Northampton. So if you are in London tomorrow, I believe they're Leighton. They're up near Leighton Orient's ground, I think, just opposite there. So if you're in North London tomorrow and fancy watching some Women's Premier Handball League, that's where you need to be going tomorrow. Probably throw off around about 2:30, I think, for that one. Let's have a little look, shall we, at the Women's North. So game week 1 results for the Women's North. Liverpool 37, Trafford 27, Loughborough, as we've just seen the highlights of there, Loughborough 25, Nottingham 21, NEM Hawks 35, Birmingham 25. For game week 2 results, here we go. NEM Hawks 32, Trafford 15, Nottingham 18, Liverpool 26, and Birmingham getting a win against Loughborough. So actually, looking at that, chaps, it seems quite even up north, doesn't it, between the teams?
Absolutely, yeah. I think North East Manchester Hawks, or NEM Hawks as they are known on those graphics, they're going to be strong. They won the title last year when it was a national competition, both in the men's and the women's. So they're always going to be strong. I'm excited to see what they can sort of muster when it comes to... It feels like they're almost sort of... Some of the coaches I've spoken to is saying that these early sort of games, they almost feel like a little bit pre-season-y. The fact that the pressure doesn't really ramp up until they get towards those playoffs and the table starts to take shape. So, yeah, I think Hawks have started off well. They've started as they mean to go on, and a few other teams might just start catching them up.
It's important to see a competitive league, isn't it, Harry?
Yeah, I think that was a worry for a lot of teams, coaches, players throughout the country, you know, perhaps split in North and South, and perhaps North a little bit more. There seems to be perhaps not so much, well, compared to the South in terms of levels going down the regions, a little bit of a disparity there. But looking at those results from the first 2 weeks, there doesn't seem to be anybody who's really, really struggling. Again, there's a few matches, 1 by 10, 1 by 12, but for a league already where it's just split North and South, it's perhaps going well in terms of the levels of competition there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to take this banner text down just whilst we have a little look at the tables as well. So this is how things look at coming up to the end of October in the Women's South. Eagles top of it, 1 win, 1 draw. Northampton, they've still got another game to go, of course, as have Olympia. GD, just with the draw so far. In fact, GD, it's Olympia play tomorrow, don't they? Cambridge with a couple of losses and Falcons with a loss as well. Let's have a look at the Women's North League table as it stands. So there they are. NEM Hawks, North East Manchester Hawks, top of the pile with 2 wins from 2, as are Liverpool as well. Just goal difference better for North East Manchester. Loughborough in 3rd, Birmingham 4th, Nottingham 5th, and Trafford in 6th. Now, of course, we're coming into November as well. So let's just have a look at the fixtures for the Women's South. There are still a few fixtures to be confirmed as well. So I've just put in what is pretty much confirmed so far. This is the Women's Premier Handball League South. West London Eagles Olympia, actually, I think that's going to be moved December, as you can see. But over the 5th and 6th of November, Cambridge, London, GD, there's going to be fireworks that day, isn't there? Boom, boom. I am here all week. Northampton, Arctic Falcons on the 6th of November. Anybody else get that? Anybody else got that joke? No, not just me.
Yeah, I just decided to pie it off because it was terrible.
Thanks, Jack. Also on the same day, Olympia taking on Cambridge and London GD a day later taking on Northampton. That's your fixtures for November for the Women's Premier Handball League South. Do head over to the website, by the way, as well, the England Handball Association website. There's a link in the body of this broadcast. Wherever you're watching it, give it a click. It'll take you straight through to keep up to date with everything. For the women's November fixtures for North, it looks a bit barer, but there are still games to be confirmed. The 5th of November, so fireworks night, Liverpool v Birmingham and Nottingham v Trafford. And then on the 20th of November, we've got NEM Hawks and Liverpool, and then the 19th, Trafford against Loughborough. But there are still a few games to be confirmed. Right, that rounds out our look at the Women's Premier Handball League. Now let's move on to the men's. And again, Jack, we were at London, weren't we, you had to disappear, actually, didn't you? You left me by myself.
I did, unfortunately.
We've got the highlights to show you now. Well, the goals really to show you of West London Eagles v London GD, the opening weekend of the Men's Premier Handball League. Let's take a look.
Just tuned in, hello, welcome. And if you didn't see the women's game a little bit earlier, where on earth were you? My word, we had an absolute cracker between the Eagles and GD to get things underway for the Women's Premier Handball League a little bit earlier. It finished 22-all. A last gasp penalty from Tanya Corti levelled it for GD. And because if it's anything like the women's game we've just seen, boy oh boy, strap yourself in. And now the action's moving. It's 13 with the goal, number 13. That ball stays with the Eagles, and it creeps in as well. That's Cedric Dari. Oh, and it's a great goal. Absolutely, Martin. Remember, we can see the cut through there. Number 13. Oh, my word. Once again, what a goal. And I think Paul Dempsey, Eagles head coach, will be delighted with the big attack, surely. Oh, what a goal that is. That will come only 7 minutes into the game as Eagles score. The centre. Now they're looking to make it. Oh, what a goal. Check it out. There's also a link in the body of this broadcast to the EHA's website. Disappointed if you watch that one back. Here we go. Eagles on the attack. To Jeremy Archer, and what over on the right. Penalty to Great Dane. That hasn't changed. I would have thought it would have done. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, Archer, 38, and once again he scored. Where in the world are you watching this game? Good hands at the minute. Oh, and what a goal! That's going to make the highlights good. Is that? Let's get back to the action here, shall we? As GD do score. The half-time hooter goes. It says Eagles 10, London GD 17. Looking for large periods, it's going to be a bit closer, but now GD make it a 9-point game as well. There's Thomas Cower, and it's Davidis Karikas, and it's a penalty save, but surely, oh, it's a double save, oh my word. A 6-7 minute spell, oh, and that move is a complete open goal, and it's a great goal. Can they find a way through the centre? It looks like they might be able to, and it's another goal. Look, congratulations.
Now what we're trying to do is make a step forward and just have another win. Another trophy in a cabinet. So we'll do everything we can.
Go on. I feel bad because you're missing a photo of your team.
Yeah, there you go. GD ended up running away with it. Doesn't quite tell the whole story, though, because Eagles were really in it for the first sort of 20 minutes or so. But then, I don't know what happened. GD just put the hammer down. Harry, did you get a chance to watch that one?
Yeah, I did. Again, I don't think we quite caught that on the show right now. It pretty much happened the same it did in real life. 1 minute you didn't see, the next minute, GD are up by 8 goals. But I think, West London Eagles made a really strong start. I think up until perhaps the 25th minute, just 2 or 3 goals behind. They struggled a little bit last season, but definitely this season they look like they've improved tactically. Maybe 1 or 2 players in the squad. Krukaskas looks like a really good player, their main player. But against GD, who are just arguably probably the most stacked team in the country, not just their starting 7, but their whole squad of 16 everywhere you go. It's just people who've played abroad, people who've played in the league for a really long time, GB, fully internationals. And again, if you'll go down to GD by 8 goals at half time, it's pretty much game over.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that, didn't we? And Paul Dempsey actually said at your interview with him, Jack, he was talking about coming off the end of last season. It looks like they might have lost a few players, but I actually thought they played pretty well. That first half, they were really, really good. But Harry, how difficult is it to, certainly for the first game of the season, when you've had a bit of a tough pre-season, it looks like, and maybe a few players have gone, and then you've got the cream of the crop coming to your neck of the woods. It's got to be a tough task, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, probably the one team you don't want to go up against on the first game of the season is probably London GD again. They play and train in central London, so obviously they always have a lot of players coming in, coming out. They've probably lots of players played together for a long, long time, many years. But I think, we really have to give credit to West London Eagles. Those first 20 minutes played really strongly, but again, a little bit of fitness, a little bit of communication for perhaps the most professional team in the league from GD. Again, it pretty much, you can perhaps see where West London Eagles are slightly lacking perhaps in the second half. But I definitely think that they'll be a lot stronger this season, and definitely for all the teams in the South, there will be close games, and on any given day, it looks like anybody can win, but it has to be 100%.
It does, doesn't it, Jack? Most of the teams, obviously, in the men's South are London-based, pretty much all of them. That's got to be an advantage, isn't it? Just with the sheer volume of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously London's a hub. It's an international hub, isn't it? So a lot of people come over from Europe and from anywhere in the world, really. And with that, they bring a whole host of experience of different sports, one of which is likely to be handball because it is so much bigger. elsewhere than it is in England. To be honest, it's only a good thing because here in England, we do need those sort of sources of extra knowledge and experience to feed off of. And I know three of the players for London GD started off playing handball with them. They're from my hometown, and Ollie Tyler and Morgan Gillett. And we used to play up north quite a lot, and they've just turned it up another level since going down to London. And I think that's probably because they do have the extra sort of push and the extra sort of challenge that they have. Trying to get into a team full of people that have played since they were sort of 4 or 5 years old, and we started when we were sort of 12 or 13. I mean, you mentioned there, Harry, their squad is stacked, and when you come up first game of the season, Krukaskas is a great example. He's a fantastic shooter at left back for West London Eagles, really dangerous. He was fantastic in the game that we covered against Olympia last season. But when you come up against Will Moore and Ollie Tyler, who are both 6'5", and they are a brick wall in the middle of that defence, you just can't really jump over them, and you have to move them about, and it's all about how intense you can be. And clearly West London Eagles were very intense in that first 20 minutes. They did make holes. They took advantage of maybe some sloppiness from GD. But keeping that up is a nigh on impossible task. I always hated going down to play London GD when I played for Diva in the Premier League. It was just a 3-hour drive down just to be beaten to drive 3 hours back. And you know it was going to be a waste of a Sunday, but you have to do it anyway.
It was quite something to watch, though, because Eagles didn't look like they actually did anything wrong to my untrained eye. It was just they were level pegging for the first 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden, GD just took every single advantage that came their way, Harry, and Eagles just couldn't find the net for a while.
Yeah, I think this is where we talk about squad depth. And although, we talk about Krukaskas, a really good shooter from left back, it seemed once those first 20 minutes have gone, they've kind of worked him out. And then it goes to the centre back, right back, perhaps West London Eagles. You have that star man and perhaps a little bit too reliant on that star man. And perhaps when you push it forward, they know that this player might not be as dangerous to them. So again, once they kind of worked out who their main player was, and you can step up on 9, get a good tackle in, if you come out a bit more aggressive on defence, are those other players going to be able to break through as effectively? And against a team full of London GD players who, I played last week and they're all pretty much 6'5" and over, it is like you do start to sometimes have that little bit of panic. So I think, we talk about squad depth and it's nothing. I think that's what showed mainly in the end.
One tactic that GD used quite well, and it's something we've spoken about before, Jack. I want to ask you about it, Harry, as well, to see if you do it at Carshalton, or you may not want to give anything away, who knows. But they're very good at bringing the keeper off and having an extra player on for that attack and then getting the keeper back on quickly. It's quite a unique tactic, isn't it? And GD seem to have it down to a fine art.
Yeah, that is what we were pretty much forced to do against our match against London GD because, we didn't have an established goalkeeper, so we were pretty much forced into that direction. But we did find it, for us, it helped us slow down and really, really focus on efficient shooting and attacking. And we kind of had to use it as a bit of a training game in a way, but we found some advantages to it. But again, there's definitely that disadvantage of you really have to get back, really be organised in your quick substitutions, which in handball you are allowed unlimited subs. So there's definitely positives and negatives, but I think a team like London GD, I think they'd be definitely organised, and if there was any team who could pull it off effectively, it'd probably be them.
Yeah, we must give kudos actually to Paul Dempsey, West London Eagles coach, because not only is he the women's head coach, he's also the men's head coach. You spoke to him earlier on in the show after the women's game. I had a very quick chat with him after the men's game, and here's what he had to say.
Because I actually thought that was a thrilling game. So the first 20 minutes, you guys were right in it, weren't you? The scoreline perhaps doesn't quite reflect the actual game, I don't think.
No, I think that the team played with control. The thing that actually killed us is that Great Dane, I know that Zoran would have actually put them through a really heavy duty summer programme. So obviously that told in the last 30 minutes really.
Yeah.
We run out of steam and we haven't had the amount of players during the summer to actually do a full team physical training. So it's been awkward. We have a lot of new players that have joined the club, which obviously haven't bonded as of yet. But listen, this is the first game, and I think against such a good outfit that Great Dane is, we actually done pretty well. The score maybe doesn't, give a true sort of outcome of the game. But at the end of the day, is that they just run us off the court in the last 20 minutes. You know, they're a great outfit, and you know, yeah, that's all I can really say. Really.
Good to be back though, right? The Premier League has now started officially. How happy are you to be back?
Yeah, I love, you know, I'm never away from the sport, you know, with Great Britain and everything. So it's, I just love the sport as a whole, and I'm sure there's a lot of other players out there that are maybe watching this that would want to change sport, or those that have played handball before and over in Great Britain. Look up a club, join them, you know, add some value to the teams by your skill sets. So, you know, it's a long way to go, but I think we can develop and build on this result.
You guys certainly played your part in a wonderful day's handball. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time again.
Thank you.
Yeah, Paul touches on there, doesn't he? GD are able to put the play through quite a rigorous summer training program. It looks like it's just a player pool issue. But how come two teams from the capital? How come GD are able to have that player pool and the likes of West London Eagles aren't? Jack.
That's a great question, to be honest. I think a lot of it comes down to location of training. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, West Gunnersby is. I'm not sure if that is where West London Eagles train, but it's quite far around to the quite far around to the east, isn't it? Maybe that's not a hotbed for where sort of industry and people go to live as soon as they move to London. I'm not entirely sure because I'm from the north and I've stayed up north. I don't know the areas of it particularly well. I think London GD have a history as well, and when players come over from abroad, they probably have a look at the handball tables and probably have a look at their social medias and everything like that. And don't get me wrong, West London Eagles, formerly known as Ruislip, do have a rich history. Paul said it was 50 years old this year. But I suppose maybe they have friends as well. I mean, ultimately, if you have a fantastic handballer and all of a sudden he makes a load of friends from his community or from his background who move over, they're likely to be pretty good at handball as well. So I'm not 100% sure. There's loads of factors that could be involved with it. But what I do know is they've been strong since they've been formed. West London Eagles have as well, but it just seems at the moment that GD have that upper hand. And just before, quickly, we sort of harped on about Courty quite a lot from the women's game. I don't know the name of the player, annoyingly, because I have scoured the internet in the past couple of days to try and find the result sheet. But the number 38 for GD, I think the right winger, the amount of fast breaks they scored throughout the game was absolutely fantastic. Harry probably has their name on it because he's a lot more preparation than me. But he looked in the highlights particularly one of the reasons why they ran away with that 8-goal lead early on.
I'll tell you, so he's probably thrown you under the bus there, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he's got me on that one. I don't think I've got that information on me.
Well, don't you worry about that. Let's have a look at some of the results, shall we, from game week 1 of the Men's South Premier Handball League. There we are. As we just saw, in fact, let me just take that banner running across the bottom. West London Eagles 19, London GD 35. That's the game we've just seen. Chelsea 32, Cambridge 25. And Harry, of course, your team there, Cosh Alton's 26, Olympia 36. Just tell us a little bit about that game if you can.
Yeah, so I think like I called on before, I think Olympia, probably the team we'd like to be competing with for that second place spot for the Final Four. We do believe that we are on that level, but on that day, first game of the season, again, a little bit of issues within our defence. We just didn't quite get into the game, and Olympia, a team very experienced. Sometimes they play with your mind, and us. First game of the season syndrome, but got that out of the way now. Now we just crack on and hopefully we can start pushing ahead like we know we can.
Absolutely. That was game week 1. Let's have a look at game week 2 because actually, Cosh Alton, you've had 2 tough games to get going with, haven't you? Let's have a look at game week 2, as you mentioned before. So you've obviously got first hand of playing against London GD in October. GD 35, Titans 24. Like you said, they're just top of the pile, aren't they, really? So just always going to be difficult. Eagles getting a win there, by the way, 29-22 against Cambridge, and Olympia picking up a win as well, 31-21. So, playing against GD, Harry, is always a challenge then.
Yeah, definitely. I think when it comes down to the Final Four, which I'm pretty sure they will, get into, it's probably between, compared to the teams from the north, perhaps Nottingham and NEM Hawks. And I think there's a few people that have left Nottingham. And so I can't really speak much for NEM Hawks, but looking at people who've left certain clubs, and then again, more players who have joined London GD for this season, they do look like perhaps even nationally the team to beat. And yeah, always a tough game, but that's what we want. We want to play against the best teams in the country. We want to improve because, we're trying to improve. I'm trying to improve. And that's just what we want for the sport. Always competitive matches, playing against the best players.
Absolutely. Harry, let's grab our passports, shall we, and head up the M1 and the M6 and have a look at the men's North game week 1 results, shall we? There we go. Manchester 27, Nottingham 34, NEM Hawks 41, Birmingham 20. So I think that was the biggest win, in fact, across the entire Premier League in October for NEM, 41-21. However, if we go to game week 2, and look at that for Birmingham, 26, Manchester 25. That was a tight one, wasn't it? Nottingham beating Liverpool 37-27 as well. That's how game week 2 finished. Let's have a little look at the league table for the Men's Premier League South, shall we? Harry, of course, you guys involved in this one. I'm sorry about that, but I'm sure it will change as the season goes on. London
Fingers
GD,
crossed.
Absolutely. London GD top. 2 wins from 2. Goal difference to 27. Obviously, maximum points. Olympia of maximum points as well. Goal difference to 20. So bright starts for the 2 London teams. In fact, everybody's London except for Cambridge, aren't they, really? Chelsea in 3rd place, a win and a loss. So West London Eagles, a win and a loss as well. Cambridge and Carshalton 5th and 6th, respectively. But a long way to go, of course. Let's have a look at the Men's Premier North table, shall we? Here's how things look at the minute. Nottingham leading the way there. Birmingham with a win and a loss. NEM Hawks in 3rd, Manchester 4th, Liverpool 5th. 5 teams in the Premier League North. That's why not as many games played. So one of the teams has had a bit of a bye there as well. So let's go to the fixtures for November. Let's have a look for the South League first of all. So, Harry, you're heading away to Chelsea, and then you've got a home game against West London Eagles. What are you expecting from those games?
Yeah, again, it's away, but fortunately shouldn't be too long of a drive. I think it's at St Mary's, Chelsea, and then we'll be back embarking for West London Eagles. I think Chelsea, we haven't played them. I don't think I've ever played them, but I think they won the National League outright, so they would have received promotion anyway. And we know a little bit about them because their coach has actually become our coach. So hopefully in training next week, we can really kind of focus, hopefully get a little bit of insider information. And yeah, those 2 games, we really want to kickstart our season. We think they're definitely games that we can put down our authority on when we're 100% squad depth. Yep, we hopefully get 2 wins on the board. But again, no complacency because again, when we see West London Eagles versus GD, if you give any team a sniff, then they're there, they're at them, they're ready to get you.
Absolutely. Just to reiterate the rest of the November fixtures there, the bonfire night, we have Cambridge against London GD. Then, of course, Chelsea, Carshalton, Titans, again, we've just been talking about. And then, of course, Titans at home against the Eagles on the 20th. On the 19th, Olympia at home against Cambridge. And then the same day that Carshalton play West London Eagles, London GD are at home for another London derby against Chelsea. Let's have a look at the men's North fixture. It doesn't look like there's a lot, but there are still a few games to be confirmed. So that's not it as of yet. As we said, there's 5 teams as opposed to 6 in the Men's Premier Handball League North. These are the confirmed games so far. So 5th of November, Liverpool v Birmingham. And the 20th of November, NEM Hawks v Liverpool. That is likely to be the game that is going to be broadcast live as well in November. It's not confirmed yet, but it's likely to be, very likely to be that game. But just wait for the official announcement, please. Don't get to running away with that. Now, before we wrap this up, huge thank you, everybody, by the way, for tuning in. Huge thank you to you, Jack, and as well, Harry, for joining us too. Jack, you sent me a message, didn't you, just before we came live? Said, you've got to show this picture. You've got to show us this picture. Here it is. Talk us through this.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the name on the back is covered up, but that's one of the GB under-20s players. And a lot of people online, if Ronaldo did this, it would go viral for years. The athleticism there in what is a 19-year-old or 20-year-old kid is absolutely incredible, to be honest. To be able to get that height. I used to have what's called a credit card jump, where I would jump and you could just about fit a credit card underneath me. That is some talent and some athleticism right there. So yeah, fair play to whoever that guy is. He's definitely a threat on the counter attack.
Yeah, I think just a quick one. I think if I'm right, I think his name's Tiago Bab. He's actually Portuguese. Again, one of the few players for GB under-20s on dual nationality who perhaps have a little bit more experience playing for professional or semi-professional clubs abroad. You want those players in the GB setup to perhaps give the more native players a bit more guidance, a bit more speed, and height, as you can see in that picture there. So it's good to have that balance of born British players and then perhaps players who have got dual nationality. And that's what, at this stage, British handball perhaps relies on a little bit too much, but it's still something that's needed. And again, yeah, just a great picture.
It's a superb picture, isn't it? I wish it was me, but like I said, there's a reason he's 19 or 20. It's the only reason he can get that high, I think. Right, Jack, thank you so much for joining us. Harry as well. Really, really appreciate it. Good luck this month, Harry, with Cusholton Titans. Of course, we will be keeping an eye on you. And of course, we will be broadcasting you live at some point this season as well.
Look forward to it.
It's going to be fantastic. Don't forget 2 games coming up for you in November and the Handball Hits November show as well. Thanks for your comments too. Do keep them coming in. It's the first time we've ever done this. I kind of put this together off the top of my head, what I thought would be good. So we want to hear from you. You tell us, what can we do better? What did you like about the show? We won't be offended, honestly. Please be honest with us. This handball is everybody's game. This is all about the teams. This is about England handball. This is about you. So let's make it your show. This is the first ever edition. It's only going to get better from here. Jack, Harry, thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. And until next time, everybody, have a great weekend. Have a safe November, and we'll see you next month for even more live handball. Thank you.
Thank you.